Hey there guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Today we're gonna be talking about, well, just one of the best defenders in Rogue Company. We're taking a look at Trench. Now, Trench is amazing, which is a little opposite of what I said in my tier list a couple weeks ago. It's something that's definitely grown on me, but I think a lot of what Trench brings to the table is interesting. They've also announced that in future patches, they're going to be enabling a couple more things that we'll get into in just a second, but first let's just look at him on the table. First off, he is best at defense more than he is on offense, especially if you're in Demolition. That's where things are going to be very solid. You can take him into Strikeout and hold the point just fine, but he's not the best for pushing into things. That being said, his passive is one of the best ones in the game, I think. Gadget Up. You just get to carry additional gadget. You have one extra of whatever you decide to purchase on instead of the one that every other rogue is going to have. Of course, most others you tier up later, maybe you can carry 2. Trench, with some of his, can actually carry up to 3. And then his ability, a lot of you have probably experienced, it's the Barbed Wire Grenade. Now, you throw down a bunch of barbed wire, and this barbed wire will slow down enemies. If you've played on it right now, it also slows down teammates. But coming up in the future, they've said that they're going to try to making it only slow down enemies and not teammates along with it, which I think is going to make Trench even better than he already is. They also said that they're going to let you deploy it a little bit further, a lot easier, which I think is going to be insanely strong for what Trench is bringing to the table. Now, the barbed wire is pretty good at blocking certain paths. You can essentially just say, hey, you cannot run through here, or else I'm going to get an audio cue, you're going to be slow. They cannot dodge roll either, so it does enable you to find some easy kills if they walk through it. But realistically, I think his strength is partially in Gadget Up, but also in his guns and perks. Now, what he is going to be able to bring in, if we want to take a look first at the weapons he's bringing. The Executioner, it's the same pistol that you're going to see on a lot of these rogues, a Deagle-esque gun that's just going to give you a very solid pistol round. In fact, if you watch the Saint video, it's the same gun Saint uses at the very beginning, so you're going to be comfortable with this one as long as you've been playing the game a little bit. He's also bringing in a gun that is shared by Dallas, the HRM-30KS, a very solid assault rifle that, again, I tend to prefer when it comes down to the way the guns feel. It just has a little bit of a bounce. Its handling, though, can be pretty solid. Its damage is good, and, of course, its fire rate is going to be good for you. As you tier it up, you get a longer range, you get hip-fire accuracy, and at the very end, you pop a suppressor on that guy, and it reduces the recoil. The handling goes up from 34 to 42, and I think that's a very worthwhile upgrade for it. It hits well, it feels good, and for the most part, if you miss a single shot, because it's auto, much like I've mentioned for other rifles, you're going to be able to continue tracing people relatively well and down them with ease. That being said, if you're feeling yourself, I am actually a huge fan of the MXR. This is the DMR that Trench brings in, and it's a little different than some of the other DMRs. First off, magazine size 12, so you've got a lot of shots that are going to be able to come into this. It's also using a clip as opposed to individual shots like some of the other DMRs. And the other thing is that it has very little recoil, it feels like. I mean, the handling is 34 just like the HRM, but maybe it's the fire rate, maybe it's something else. It just doesn't feel like it bounces as much. But not only that, as you go on with it, you can increase your magazine size up to 18, or you can then get the damage range, and my final and favorite one, suppressing fire and reduces recoil. The reason I love it so much on this one is because when you get tier 3, this gun, it feels like a laser beam. You have 18 shots that you can just fling at people, and they won't be able to do much about it. You're going to be able to hit every shot. It feels very solid at tier 3. So this is one of the rare rogues that I can say either gun is going to feel good. Whichever one you prefer, either fully auto or single fire, is going to work out well here for you. Now moving on to the gadgets, Trench is bringing in some interesting ones. So first and foremost, he has the tear gas grenade. This is the one that creates the disorienting gas. It makes it a little more difficult to aim. It takes away your UI, all that good stuff. As you level it up, you get gas duration, and then you get a extra one. And again, since Trench has his passive, you spawn with 2, and if you level it up all the way to tier 2, then you do get 3 gas grenades that you can bring into a round, which can be very very, very suppressing against the enemy. If you are going to run him in Strikeout, or if you're going to run him as like an attacker, I think the Tear Gas Grenade is a good way to deal with those people who are going to either be peeking or waiting for you to try and take aim. That being said, his active protection system, the other gadget, is absolutely the one I love the most. So you toss this boy on the ground, you start with 2, again thanks to his passive, and it will negate the next incoming projectile. So a grenade that gets thrown your way, whether it's shot by Dima, thrown by somebody, if it's their active, it will negate like Ballistic Knives from Ronin. It is phenomenal at being able to reach them and just take them out of the air. As you level it up, you get durability and detection radius, so it can get them from even further than where it was before. And then, of course, the last tier gives you a third one that you can bring out onto the field. Now, I've never had to get all 3. Honestly, I think if you get the base and then up this to tier 1, you're doing fine. But if you want a third one, it's not going to be the worst thing for you. I definitely love the way this thing interacts with him. Feels very good on defense. You throw the barbed wire down, you put your active protection system down, your APS, to make sure that nobody's going to be able to just nade you. You have 2 solid primary guns that you know you can do well with on defense. And so already, just in those few things, I think you've got Trench, on lock for defense. He's easily my second favorite, if not my favorite rogue to play right now, right behind Saint. So he's been, definitely climbing up in my mind from what we've seen. It also has to do with his perks. Now, looking at his perks, the one thing I wish he had was something like Cloaked, and that's honestly just because I always feel like I get revealed when I'm playing Trench, but that isn't to say that he's bringing some bad perks in there. Berserker is an interesting one. I think, again, it feels like a very strikeout-oriented perk, being able to reload while sprinting. I think Shredder Rounds is probably good against another Trench, or against an Anvil, being able to do damage to the equipment and carry more ammunition. I think that's going to help you burn through either the barbed wire or the wall itself. But realistically, I think Tenacity, I think Bounce Back, and then definitely Headstrong and Tracker Rounds are where the strengths are. Headstrong, 25 additional armor, I think is always a good perk to have, and Tracker Rounds, being able to reveal them to your team, is solid, especially if you have comms going on. Otherwise, Tenacity works pretty well. If your APS isn't going to stop every grenade because they just have too many, then you do want to take reduced damage from the explosions that happen to make it through. Or if you opt into the Tear Gas Grenade, this can help kind of make up for that deficit. But honestly, the way I've been running him, early on, I invest into the APS. I at least get tier 1 of that to carry 2 in my pocket. Then I will grab whichever gun I like. And honestly, it depends on how I'm feeling. Some of these rounds I grab the MXR, some of them I grab the HRM. Either way, I'm always very happy. And then as the rounds go on, depends on when we're winning or losing. If we're winning, I start to look at getting Headstrong, then potentially Bounce Back or Tenacity. Whereas if we are losing, I start to upgrade my guns. Just because you have the 5k, you might as well go that way. And again, a lot of Trench is going to be just patient play. You gotta hold back. He's not necessarily the best at rushing people down, but his guns do well if you hold them right. I think he has a lot of potential when he's on defense. He can hold a site pretty much on his own by blocking off an entrance with his barbed wire, and of course finding good shots or a good angle otherwise to make sure that opponents have to come in either through the barbed wire where they're slowed or through another choke point that you can maybe keep better vision on. Because of that, I think he's someone that is definitely someone to look at for defense. Maybe not quite a must-have like I see Saint, but nothing that is going to hurt you. But that's going to do it here for Trench as of today. Again, leave a comment below as to who you want to see next as we go through all these rogues, talk about them. Once I'm done with all this, I want to go back through my tier list and rearrange some of these rogues as I put more time into them. But for now, you see where they're standing. You can go watch that video as well. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, tell me about who you want to see next. Until next time, well, we'll see you.